My husband stood up in the middle of our son's high school graduation, pointed right at me, and shouted, "I want a divorce!" You'd think I'd be humiliated. People gasped, heads turned. My mother-in-law clutched her pearls like we were in some cheap soap opera. But I didn't flinch. I didn't even stand up. I just smiled, crossed my legs, and sat back down. Because what no one knew, not my husband, not his mistress sitting 5 rows behind him, not even my own family, was that I'd been waiting for this exact moment. I'm Lisa, 52 years old, married for 27 years, mother of 2. If you saw us from the outside, we were the picture-perfect suburban family. White picket fence, 2-car garage, matching Christmas pajamas. You know the type. But behind those Instagram smiles, there were cracks. Hairline fractures in the foundation of our marriage that I had learned to ignore. Little things at first. His phone always face down. Work trips that popped up last minute. Conversations that felt practiced. For years, I thought maybe I was the problem. Maybe I wasn't exciting enough. Maybe after 2 kids and 3 decades, I'd become invisible to him. Funny, isn't it? How women are so quick to blame themselves. But not anymore. Because 6 weeks before that graduation, the truth landed in my lap in the most ridiculous way possible. A simple mistake. A slip of his finger. He tried to airdrop a photo, not to his mistress, but to me. A screenshot of my son's graduation invite, with a message underneath that said, "Perfect place to finally end this circus." That's when it hit me. This wasn't a marriage falling apart. This was a performance, one he had been rehearsing for months. And I was supposed to be the final act, humiliated, blindsided, crushed in front of everyone. But here's the part he didn't see coming. I don't do public meltdowns. I don't give men the satisfaction of watching me break. No, if he wanted a show, I was going to give him one, just not the one he was expecting. So when he stood there, voice echoing through the auditorium, waiting for me to sob or scream or run out in tears, I simply smiled, crossed my legs, and sat back down, because that was his moment. But mine was coming, and it was going to be unforgettable. It started with that airdrop. One careless tap, one smug little message meant for her. Perfect place to finally end this circus. For a second, I just stared at it. My brain couldn't catch up. Was this some kind of joke? A prank? But no. His name, his phone, clear as day. The circus. That's what he called our life. Our marriage. You know that feeling when your stomach drops, like an elevator plummeting past floors? Yeah, that. But what made it worse was who he was sending it to. Emily, my best friend since college, maid of honor at our wedding, godmother to our son. Of course it was her. Suddenly, memories started replaying like a cruel highlight reel. The way she'd laugh a little too hard at his jokes. Those girls' nights she'd invite me to skip. "You look tired, Lisa. Stay in, rest." The business trips he had to take right when her husband was away. It all clicked. The betrayal wasn't just an affair. It was coordinated, layered. They had built this little secret world where I was the punchline. I wanted to confront him right then, to storm into his office and demand answers. But something in me, some quiet, cold part I didn't know existed, told me to wait. Not because I was scared, but because I wanted to see how far they'd go. That night, I pretended everything was normal. Kissed him goodnight. Watched him scroll through his phone, fingers dancing over the screen, no doubt texting her. "You look tired, Lisa. Go to bed early." His words echoed. Familiar. Rehearsed. And so I started paying attention. The next morning, I checked his car's GPS history. Guess whose address popped up almost daily? I went through our shared credit card statements, hotel rooms, expensive dinners, all carefully disguised as client entertainment. But the real kicker was his email. He wasn't even careful. Tucked between work memos were love letters to Emily, pathetic teenage-level poetry. Things like, "When I'm with you, I remember who I used to be." Used to be? Funny. I remembered who he used to be too, before he turned into a coward. And Emily? She wasn't innocent. I found their shared photo album in the cloud. Hidden, but not well enough. Pictures of them on work trips, his arm around her waist, her wearing the necklace I bought her for her birthday. That necklace burned in my memory. But still, I said nothing. Because now I wasn't heartbroken. I was planning. Every lie, every fake smile they threw my way. It was fuel. One afternoon, Emily called me out of the blue, voice sweet as syrup. "Lisa, we should do a spa day soon. Just us girls, you need it." I almost laughed. Did she think I was that blind? That stupid? But instead, I matched her tone. "You're right, Emily. I could really use a reset." Because if they wanted to play games, I could play too. In fact, I was going to win. By now, even her husband had noticed. A man can only ignore so many business trips before the math stops adding up. So I reached out, careful, respectful. "I think we should talk," I texted him. We met for coffee. His face said it all. Exhaustion, betrayal, but underneath that, a flicker of rage. "Guess they thought we'd never find out," I said. He nodded, grim. "Guess they thought we were idiots." In that moment, we became allies. Two betrayed spouses with nothing to lose and everything to gain. We started sharing notes, comparing timelines, filling in the blanks. What emerged was a detailed map of their affair, the secret lunches, the coordinated lies, even the fake work emergencies that had once seemed so urgent. But through it all, I kept one thing in mind: timing. If he wanted a grand exit, a dramatic public declaration at our son's graduation, I'd let him have it. But I'd flip the script, because nothing tastes sweeter than serving revenge cold. And when you've been underestimated for as long as I had, you learn to savor the slow burn. So I smiled through family dinners, cheered at school events, played the perfect wife while quietly gathering everything I needed. He thought he was the director of this little play. But he forgot one thing. I know how to steal the spotlight. Once I had the full picture, the next step was simple: plan my revenge with precision. First, I called a divorce lawyer. Not just any lawyer, the best. A woman named Karen Morales, known for turning high-profile divorce cases into bloodbaths. Her reputation? Surgical, ruthless, discreet. Exactly what I needed. "I want it quiet for now," I told her. "But when it hits, it needs to hit hard." She smiled. My favorite kind of case. Step 2. The finances. While my husband played house with Emily, I'd been the one managing our family's accounts. He always assumed I was too soft, too trusting to ever notice his little investments. Big mistake. I opened a separate account. Slowly, methodically, I moved half our savings. Just small amounts at a time. Nothing flashy, nothing that would trigger alarms. I rerouted direct deposits, restructured joint assets, even found a hidden brokerage account he thought I'd never discover. By the time he noticed, it would be too late. Meanwhile, Emily's husband, Greg, became my silent partner. He was furious, but he wasn't reckless. Together we compiled evidence, screenshots, emails, credit card statements, dates, times, locations. We built a timeline so airtight, not even their lies could slip through. We even had photos. Oh, those were the real gems. Candids of them kissing outside her yoga studio, oblivious to the world, the same studio where she once invited me to join her. But I wasn't aiming for scandal. Not yet. My revenge had to be personal. I started small. A canceled anniversary trip, refunded quietly to my new account. A surprise plumbing issue that delayed renovations on his precious home office. Little inconveniences, small frustrations, all orchestrated from behind the scenes. Each move gave me leverage, control, confidence. But the grand finale, that was reserved for graduation day. I coordinated with Greg. We'd both be there, front row seats, playing our roles. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. While my husband stood there, basking in his own arrogance, Greg would serve him the divorce papers. Right in front of everyone, teachers, students, family, a perfect reversal of the humiliation he had planned for me. And Emily? She'd be right there to witness it all. The double betrayal, the moment her secret became public. But I didn't want chaos. I wanted control. So I rehearsed my own reaction. No tears, no screams, just a quiet smile. The kind that says, I know everything, and I'm still 3 steps ahead. The irony wasn't lost on me. He thought he was staging a spectacle, but I was directing a masterpiece. For weeks, I maintained the facade. Dinners, family photos, even pillow talk. He had no clue he was dining with his executioner. The night before graduation, he kissed my cheek and said, "Big day tomorrow." I smiled back. Yes, it is. If you've ever been betrayed, you'll understand. There's a moment when the pain stops, and clarity takes over. That's where I was. Not bitter, not heartbroken, just ready. Because this wasn't about revenge for the sake of revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my narrative, my power. He wanted a scene, but I was going to give him a legacy, one he'd never forget. Graduation day. The auditorium buzzed with pride. Families clutching balloons, students fidgeting in their gowns, the air thick with camera flashes and whispered congratulations. A perfect backdrop for new beginnings. For me, it was the perfect setting for an ending. I arrived early, took my seat front and center, every bit the proud mother. My husband sat beside me, oblivious, checking his phone like the narcissist he is. Probably texting Emily. I didn't need to check. I already knew. Behind us, 5 rows back, sat Emily, sunglasses indoors. Smug smile barely concealed. She thought today was the day she'd finally win. Greg was in position too, just across the aisle. Calm, focused. In his hand, an envelope. Not flashy, not dramatic, just clean white paper. Divorce papers, ready for delivery. As the ceremony began, my heart didn't race. No sweaty palms, no nerves. Just a cold, steady rhythm. Because when you've been preparing for the moment they thought would destroy you, fear has no place. The principal gave a long-winded speech about perseverance. I almost laughed. The irony was delicious. Then it happened. Right as our son's name was called, my husband stood up. Loud, clear, like he'd practiced this in front of a mirror. "I want a divorce." Gasps rippled through the auditorium. Heads whipped toward us. Whispers bloomed like wildfire. Cameras turned, but not mine. I didn't stand, didn't cry, didn't even blink. I just smiled, crossed my legs, and sat back down. The silence was deafening. My husband stood there, confused, waiting for his grand moment of public triumph, for my breakdown. Instead, Greg stood up, calmly walked over, tapped him on the shoulder. "Excuse me," Greg said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I believe these are for you." He handed him the envelope. My husband frowned, annoyed, ripping it open. His eyes scanned the first few lines. That's when his face changed. Red, pale, then red again. Because inside were not just divorce papers. There was a compiled dossier. Every piece of evidence, photos, messages, financial records, proof of his affair, his lies, his betrayals, all meticulously organized. And there was more. Greg had added his own touch, a personal lawsuit for alienation of affection, a relic from old state laws, but still very much alive in ours. And given Emily's smug presence, it was going to stick. The crowd, sensing something bigger than a messy breakup, leaned in. And Emily? Her sunglasses came off. Her smile vanished. My husband turned to me, sputtering. "What is this?" I met his gaze. Calm, unbothered. "Oh, that? That's your grand finale." He opened his mouth, searching for control. But the more he spoke, the worse it got. The whispers turned to stares. The perfect image he'd curated for years crumbled in real time. "You planned this," he hissed. "Of course," I said softly. "You wanted a public scene. I'm just giving you what you wanted." The principal, clearly rattled, tried to regain control. But the damage was done. No one was listening to him. All eyes were on us. The moment our son walked across that stage, diploma in hand, I stood, applauded, not for my husband, not for the show, but for my son, who had no idea his mother had just turned a potential humiliation into a moment of quiet power. Greg's wife tried to shrink into her seat, but the whispers found her. Her husband's lawsuit would soon find her, too. My husband slumped back into his chair, beaten, trapped in the very spotlight he had designed for me. Power shift. Complete. But here's the twist. This wasn't about public revenge. That was just a side effect. My real victory was behind the scenes. In the weeks leading up to this, I'd secured everything. The house was already in my name, the savings safely tucked away. His professional reputation about to be dragged through court, thanks to a little misconduct dossier Greg and I had unearthed together. This moment, this very public humiliation, was just the opening act. And I didn't need to raise my voice once. After the ceremony, people approached me. Some offered awkward sympathies. Others whispered, "Good for you." But the best was the quiet nods from women who understood. "You know what that feels like. You've been there." Because betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, sharp, surgical. As we walked out, my son beaming, unaware of the storm behind him, my husband trailed after us, small, shrinking. He wanted to end the circus. I just gave him the center ring. After the ceremony, the crowd thinned, but the whispers didn't stop. Everywhere we turned, there were stolen glances, muffled conversations. My husband walked behind me, shoulders hunched, suddenly very aware of how small he looked without his bravado. He didn't say a word. Neither did I. Emily vanished, slipped out the side door like a guilty shadow. Greg didn't follow her. He was too busy making phone calls. Quiet, efficient, and deadly. Her life was about to get very complicated. As for me, I didn't need to gloat. Watching my husband fumble with his keys, struggling to keep his composure, was satisfying enough. We reached the parking lot. That's when he finally spoke. "Lisa, we can talk about this. You didn't have to do it like this." I stopped, turned to face him. For a moment, I let him see everything, the hurt, the betrayal, but most importantly, the power shift. "I didn't do this to you," I said. "You did this for yourself. You just never thought I'd have the final say." His mouth opened, but no words came out. I walked away. Our son caught up to me, all smiles. He had no idea what had just happened. And that was exactly how I wanted it. He deserved his moment, untouched by his father's stupidity. As we drove home, I felt it. Not relief, not triumph, just peace. A quiet satisfaction that comes when you finally reclaim your narrative. The divorce? Already in motion. The assets? Secured. His reputation? About to be a cautionary tale. And me? I was done playing the quiet, forgiving wife. You don't end my story like that, I thought. I do. In the end, he got his circus, the attention he so desperately craved. But I got the last act. Clean. Precise. Unforgettable. Because the thing about betrayal is it's loud when it happens. But the best revenge is quiet, calculated, controlled. And when you deliver it right, you don't need to raise your voice. You just need to smile, sit back down, and let them ruin themselves. That day, I didn't just get my revenge. I got my freedom. And in that moment, sitting in my car, watching him disappear in the rearview mirror, I realized something. I was never the clown in his circus. I was always the ringmaster. He just didn't know it. Until now.